The thought that echoed in silence Eli was always quiet. He liked machines more than people. He worked in the engine room of the Celestara, a large human-alien exploration ship. His job was to fix plasma cores, cooling vents, and anything that made noise when it shouldn't. He didn't mind the silence. In fact, he loved it. But today, the silence felt different. Eli sat near a glowing conduit, tightening a loose valve. The hum of the ship was soft, like a distant song. Above him, on the command bridge, stood Captain Syria, the Velyari leader of the mission. She was tall, graceful, with silver skin and violet eyes that seemed to see everything, even thoughts. Eli had always admired her from a distance. He never spoke to her unless it was work-related. He didn't know how to express the strange feeling inside him. It wasn't just respect. It was something more, something deeper. He had never told anyone, not even himself. But today, as he looked at her through the glass panel, a thought came. To his mind, a thought so strong it almost escaped his lips. I wish I could marry her someday. He smiled to himself, shaking his head. Stupid, he thought. She's a commander, an alien, a legend. And you? Just a quiet human engineer. Then everything changed. The lights flickered. A sharp sound rang in his ears, like wind blowing through a tunnel. The ship trembled slightly, as if passing through a thin wall. Tools rattled. Monitors blinked. Red for a second, then calmed. Eli blinked, confused. What was that? He whispered. Before he could stand, the room grew still. Captain Syria turned around slowly, her eyes looking directly at him across 2 floors and thick glass. She said nothing at first. Then her lips moved. Yes. That was all. One word. Yes. Eli froze. Had he said something out loud? No, he was sure. He hadn't moved his mouth. He hadn't spoken. He stood there, heart pounding. She had answered. A question he never asked. She smiled faintly, then turned back to the main screen. The silence returned, but it wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy. Later, in the mess hall, Eli tried to forget what happened. He sat with a warm cup of synth coffee, staring at the cup like it had answers. The room was filled with quiet talk and soft footsteps, but he heard none of it. Engineer Eli, a voice said. He looked up. Syria was standing right in front of him. He almost dropped his cup. Captain, he said quickly, standing up. She motioned him to sit. I didn't mean to confuse you earlier, she said softly. Her voice was calm, but serious. Eli blinked. I didn't say anything. No, she replied. But I felt something. A strong truth. A silent proposal. Eli's face turned pale. He looked around. No one seemed to be listening. I don't understand, he said quietly. Neither do I, Syria admitted. The Velyari are empathic. We feel emotions. But this was more. It was like your thought touched the space between. That's not possible, Eli whispered. Not usually, she replied. But we passed through something strange today. A field. An energy layer near the whisper belt. It might have changed something. Eli tried to breathe slowly. This was just a private thought, he said. I didn't mean for anyone to hear. I know, she said gently. That's why it meant something. She stood up. There's something happening on this ship, and I think you're connected to it. Before he could reply, she walked away. Eli sat still, unable to move. All he could hear was the word again, like an echo in his mind. Yes. Eli couldn't sleep that night. He lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling of his small quarters. The ship's engine hummed softly in the background, a sound that usually made him feel calm. But now, every vibration felt like a question he couldn't answer. Why did she say yes? How did she hear something he never said? The memory repeated in his mind like a broken record, her voice calm and clear. Yes. He had never spoken the words. He hadn't even looked at her when he thought them. Was she reading his mind? No, the Veliari weren't telepaths. At least, that's what everyone believed. They could feel emotions, yes. Strong feelings like fear, anger, joy. But not thoughts, not actual words. Unless something had changed. The next morning, the crew gathered on the observation deck. Large windows showed a wide view of space. Purple light from the nearby nebula shimmered in the dark. Tiny moons floated across a dead planet below them. Syria stood at the front, looking serious. Eli stood in the back, trying to stay invisible. "We passed through a psychic ripple field," she said to the crew. Most likely part of the whisper. Belt. Sensors showed a sharp rise in neural energy across the ship. Some crew members looked confused. Others concerned. A Veliari science officer stepped forward. This wave was different. It didn't just affect machines. It touched our minds. Some of us had strange dreams last night. Murmurs filled the room. Eli swallowed hard. Dreams? "I saw my brother," one human pilot said. "He died years ago, but last night he was talking to me like it was real." "I heard music," another alien officer said, "from my home world. A song I haven't heard since I was a child." Syria raised her hand, calming the group. "We are safe for now. But the ripple field may have activated something inside this region. There's a structure nearby. An ancient Veliari beacon, hidden within an asteroid field. We believe it's sending out low-level thought signals." She turned, her eyes landing on Eli just for a second. "I've chosen Engineer Eli to join the landing team." Eli's heart skipped a beat. Him? On a mission? He hadn't left the engine section in months. He hated field work. But he couldn't say no not to her. Hours later, Eli stood inside a small dropship with Syria and 2 officers. The shuttle left the main vessel and entered the asteroid field. The beacon came into view. It looked broken, ancient, covered in dust and rock. But it pulsed with soft blue light. Symbols along its surface glowed faintly, like they were waking up after a long sleep. Eli stepped onto the surface in his suit. The artificial gravity held him in place. As he moved closer to the beacon, a strange feeling grew in his chest, like a voice humming deep inside him. He reached out and touched one of the glowing symbols. Suddenly, images exploded inside his mind. A battlefield, a city made of glass, a Veliari woman holding hands with a human soldier. They were smiling. "In love?" Then a voice whispered, "The bond is not forgotten." Eli pulled his hand away, gasping. Syria was standing close to him now, staring at the beacon. "You saw it, didn't you?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "A memory. Not mine. Someone else's." Syria looked down. Her voice was quiet. "My people once bonded with humans. Long ago, during the First Galactic War. It was called soul merge. A deep emotional connection, stronger than speech. But it was banned." "Why?" Eli asked. "Because it made people too close, too powerful together. It scared the old leaders." Eli felt a chill in his bones. "And now?" Syria looked at him. "I think it's happening again." Eli didn't speak. He didn't need to, because in that moment he felt something from her. Not words, not sound, but a thought, a question. "Do you still wish to marry me?" Eli stared at her, shocked. He hadn't said anything. Not now. Not before, but she had heard it again. This time, he nodded slowly, and she smiled. The ruins stood like sleeping giants in the middle of space. Eli walked slowly behind Syria, carefully stepping over broken stone and sharp metal. The surface of the ancient beacon was covered with strange symbols. Some glowed softly when they walked near. It felt like the place was watching them, listening. There were no walls, only floating pieces of an old structure. Giant rings circled around an invisible core, moving slowly without any power. It didn't look like anything humans had built. Even the Valyari officers seemed uneasy. Eli's breathing was slow. He tried to stay calm, but something about the place made his skin feel cold, even inside the suit. Syria turned to him. Her voice came through his helmet's combs. "Are you feeling anything strange?" Eli nodded. "It's like the air is heavy. Not the gravity. The dot emotions." Syria looked thoughtful. "The beacon remembers, not just thoughts. It holds feelings, memories from the past." They stopped near a broken arch. As Eli stepped close, it lit up with blue light. The symbol at the center pulsed like a heartbeat. Suddenly, his mind opened again. He saw a vision clear and powerful. A young human soldier standing beside a Valyari woman. They held hands inside a glowing chamber. Around them, other Valyari. And humans stood together, smiling. United. Then the vision shifted. Explosions. Fear. Betrayal. The bond was called dangerous. It was ripped apart by leaders who feared its power. The humans were sent away. The Valyari sealed the beacon and erased the past. The final image burned into Eli's thoughts. Only love can wake the bond again. He stepped back, shaking. His head hurt. Syria caught him by the arm. "You saw it too?" "Yes," he whispered. "The past, the truth." Syria looked at the glowing arch. Her eyes were filled with something Eli hadn't seen before pain. "My people hid this from history," she said. "They were afraid of connection, afraid of how strong we could become with humans." Eli was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at her. "So what now?" Syria looked into his eyes. "Now we decide if we want to finish what they started, or forget again." Just then, their coms crackled. "Captain, this is the ship," a voice said. "You need to return now. We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" Syria asked. There was a pause. "The crew is having dreams, too many. Some are hearing voices, seeing things that aren't real. And one officer collapsed. The medical. AI says their mind was overloaded." Eli's face went pale. "It's spreading," Syria nodded. "We opened something. And now it's reaching out." Back on the ship, things were getting worse. Lights flickered. People moved slowly, like they were half asleep. One human officer stood in the hallway, talking to someone invisible. A Valyari soldier was curled up in the corner, whispering songs in a lost language. Eli and Syria moved through the ship carefully. In the medical bay, they saw the collapsed officer. His eyes were open but unfocused. His brain scans were flashing red. Too much activity. "He's dreaming," the medic said. "But he's awake. It's like something is pulling memories from inside him." Syria turned to Eli. "This isn't just an old beacon. It's a message system. Emotional, mental, deep." Eli nodded. "It's trying to talk. But to who?" she asked. Eli looked at her. "Maybe to us." They went to the command room. Eli sat at the interface, while Syria watched the beacon's signal on the screen. The waves weren't random. They had a rhythm, a pattern, a voice without sound, a memory without a mouth. Then something new happened. The signal changed. It formed two clear symbols, one Valyari, one human. They meant the same word, bond. Eli leaned back, eyes wide. "It knows we're here." Syria stepped forward, her voice quiet. "And it remembers what we used to be." The room went silent again. This time, the silence didn't feel cold. It felt alive. The ship was no longer the same. The air felt thick with emotions. Not fear, Not panic, something deeper. Like every memory, every hidden thought was floating in the air, waiting to be touched. Eli walked through the corridors with Syria beside him. They passed a crew member staring at a blank wall, smiling, and crying at the same time. Another sat on the floor, whispering his mother's name over and over. "This is getting worse," Eli said. "It's not just visions anymore. It's pulling their emotions." Syria nodded. "The beacon didn't just wake up. It's reaching out, and everyone on this ship is feeling it." "But why me?" Eli asked. "Why did I hear it first?" Syria looked at him carefully. "Because your emotions are stronger. You carry love in silence. That makes your thoughts pure, focused, and the beacon listens to truth." They entered the main lab. Screens showed strange waves, mental energy moving like heat across the ship. The Veliari science officer looked up from the console. "Captain, we have a new problem. Something else is entering the sector. A vessel, unknown design." Syria's voice sharpened. "Display it." On the screen, a dark ship appeared, sharp edges, black surface, no lights. It moved slowly, like a predator in the dark. "That's not one of ours," Eli said. The Veliari officer nodded. "It belongs to the Cryan Syndicate." Syria frowned. "They were banned from this region. The beacon must have drawn them in," Eli said. "They must have picked up the signal like we did." Syria's face turned serious. "The Cryan only care about power. If they discover this emotional network, they'll weaponize it." Minutes later, alarms echoed across the ship. The Cryan vessel had locked weapons. "They weren't here to talk," Syria took command. "Shields up. Do not fire unless I say so." The crew scrambled to their stations. But the strange emotional pull from the beacon was still affecting them. Some struggled to think clearly. Eli stayed beside Syria, his thoughts racing. Suddenly, he had an idea. "What if we use the beacon?" he asked. Syria turned. "Use it how?" "To push back," he said. "The beacon responds to emotions, right? What if we send a signal strong and clear, something it can carry?" Syria narrowed her eyes. "A warning?" "No," Eli said. "A feeling. A message of unity. To show the Cryan this bond won't be broken." Syria was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "Let's try." They returned to the lab. Eli placed his hand on the input console, now connected to the beacon remotely. "Focus on the emotion," Syria said softly. Eli closed his eyes. He thought about her. Not her rank, not her alien form, just her. The way she stood beside him. The moment she said yes. The way her voice felt like a warm wind through his heart. He let the feeling grow inside him. The beacon glowed. Blue waves pulsed from the ship. The strange energy spread out like a breath, touching the nearby space. The Cryan ship paused. Fired. One blast hit the shield, then another. Syria stood firm. "Send it again. Stronger." Eli reached deeper. He thought about Earth, about everything he'd lost and found again on this mission. About love unspoken and heard anyway. He didn't just feel it, he let it pour out. The beacon pulsed once more. This time, brighter. Then something amazing happened. The ship itself responded. A psychic field formed around the Shelastara. Not physical, not metal, but real. A shield made of memory, emotion, and unity. The Cryan blast hit it and vanished. Inside their dark ship, the Cryan crew screamed. Their own minds turned against them. Rage, fear, paranoia. The beacon's emotional network reflected their own darkness back. At them, they fled. Syria exhaled. The room was silent again. "You did it," she said. "No," Eli replied. "We did." She stepped closer. "You feel everything, Eli, even when you try to hide it." "I didn't mean for you to hear it," he said. "I know," she whispered. That's why it meant so much. And then, for the first time, she reached for his hand. No words. No need. The beacon glowed once more. The ship floated quietly, now. No alarms. No weapons. No more fear. But something still moved unseen between the walls, through the lights, in the hearts of the people aboard the Celestara. The beacon had touched them all, and it wasn't finished. Yet. Eli sat alone in the observation bay, staring at the stars. They looked still, but his mind wasn't. He had felt something bigger than any machine he'd ever repaired. Bigger than the ship. Bigger than the galaxy. He had touched love, and it had answered. Syria entered the room without sound. Her presence was calm, but strong. She sat next to him, and for a few seconds they didn't speak. They didn't have to. It's still inside us, she finally said. Eli nodded. The beacon? No, she said gently. The bond. He turned to her. I didn't know love could feel this. Loud. Syria smiled faintly. That's why the beacon answered. It was never meant to be used as a weapon. It was meant to protect what matters most: connection. Eli looked down. So what happens now? Are we just linked forever? We don't know the rules, Syria replied. This connection is old, forbidden, forgotten, but I think it chose us for a reason. Before they could say more, they... unit on Syria's wrist lit up. Captain, a voice said. Sensors have picked up new activity. Another signal coming from the far side of the whisper belt. What kind of signal? She asked. It's familiar, the officer replied. Same structure as the beacon. Same psychic pattern, but stronger. Eli stood. There's another one? Yes, Syria said, standing beside him. And if we felt this much from one beacon, the other one could shake the whole region, he finished. Moments later, they were back on the bridge. The screen showed the signal, a sharp line of energy moving slowly toward them. But it wasn't just power. It carried something deeper. Thoughts, visions, promises. Syria stared at it carefully. The second beacon isn't waiting. It's calling. Eli studied the pattern. He frowned. These symbols, I've seen them before. Syria looked at him. Where? In the vision. The soldier, the Veliari woman. They were standing beneath these exact symbols. She blinked slowly. It's a memory link. The second beacon holds the future they dreamed of. The one that never happened. Eli's voice dropped to a whisper. A future where we stayed together. The ship trembled slightly. More crew members began reporting strange feelings. Hope, sorrow, joy, loss. All at once. And one Veliari crew member collapsed. The medical AI ran scans. Cognitive overload increasing. This signal is more intense than the last. If it keeps growing, it will break minds. Syria turned to Eli. There's only one way to stop it. He nodded. We connect. They made their way back to the lab. The team had already begun linking the ship's systems to the beacon's signal pathway. But this time, something was different. This time, the beacon wanted Eli and Syria. They stood in the center of the room. A circle of light surrounded them. The psychic field was unstable, but Eli felt no fear. Only truth. Are you ready? Syria asked. He looked at her, eyes steady. I already gave you the answer, he said. She smiled. Then let's show the galaxy what love looks like. They closed their eyes. Together, they opened their thoughts. The beacon responded instantly. Second beacon's signal crashed into the ship, but it didn't harm them. Instead, it merged with the emotional field they had already built. Past met present. Lost love met new love. Visions flooded their minds. A future where Veliari and humans stood as equals. Children of two species, laughing in green fields. Ships powered by peace, not war. A galaxy not ruled by fear, but by connection. The crew felt it too. One by one, across the ship, people stopped trembling. Their thoughts became clear. Their hearts settled. And in the center of it all, Eli held Siria's hand. "Will you marry me?" He whispered, not in sound, but thought. Siria's answer came without delay. "I already did. The moment I heard your silence." The stars looked different now. They didn't shine brighter. They didn't move. But for everyone aboard the Celestara, something had changed. It was not space that had shifted. It was the people watching it. The beacon's second wave had passed, but its message remained quiet and powerful, living inside their thoughts. The fear was gone. The confusion had faded. What stayed was a strange warmth, like a memory from long ago. Only it had just been made. Eli stood on the main bridge, his hand gently resting over Sirius. The crew moved silently around them, returning to their duties, but with new purpose in their steps. They had seen a truth no scanner could detect. A bond deeper than words, stronger than technology. A human and a Velyari had connected, and the galaxy had felt it. Siria looked at the ship's main screen. The psychic wave was now stable, forming. A field of emotional resonance that flowed from beacon to beacon like a great river. "We've created something new," she said. "Or maybe we've brought back something old," Eli nodded. "We proved the bond works, that it's not dangerous, it's necessary." Siria smiled gently. "And now the galaxy will want answers." He chuckled. "Let them ask. We've got the truth." But even as they spoke, a signal came through. The Galactic Council. Siria took a breath and answered the call. A screen opened, showing faces from many species leaders, scientists, warriors. Some looked curious, others cautious. "Captain Siria," one council member said, "we've received reports from your ship. 2 beacon signals, psychic fields, and emotional resonance." Siria spoke with calm strength. "Yes, the ancient Velyari-human bond still lives. The beacons didn't create it. They only woke it up." Another leader frowned. This connection, this soul merge, was forbidden long ago. Eli stepped forward. And maybe that was the galaxy's mistake. Silence. Then Siria added, "It wasn't emotion that caused war. It was fear. Fear of unity. Fear of what two hearts could create when joined across stars." The council members whispered among themselves. "You too," one alien elder said. "Are bonded?" Siria nodded. "Yes, by truth, by trust." Eli looked at them all and said, "And by love." A week later, the Celestara returned to a neutral orbital station. News had already spread. Some called it a miracle. Others called it a threat. But most called it hope. A human engineer and an alien commander had done something that warships, diplomats, and treaties had failed to do for centuries. They made people feel again. Not with weapons. Not with force, but with a silent thought. And an unexpected yes. Eli stood on a quiet observation deck, now far from the beacons. Yet he still felt the signal, the connection. It was quiet, but alive like a heartbeat under the stars. Siria walked in beside him. "We've been asked to lead a new project," she said. "What kind?" Eli asked. "A bridge," she answered. "Not made of metal, but of people. Humans and Velyari, trained to understand each other, to listen with the heart." Eli smiled. "Sounds like the future." She looked into his eyes. "No," she said. "It sounds like a promise." He took her hand. They didn't need a ceremony, or rings, or laws written by others. Their bond had already been sealed in silence, in thought, in emotion stronger than time now. It had changed the stars, the end,